Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. This is Real Estate Roundup. I'm your host, Emmanuel Romanis. As always, if you want to contact the show, simply shoot us an email at realestateroundup@outlook.com. Again, that's realestateroundup@outlook.com. We have a great show planned for today. We're going to be speaking about radon. Radon is something that is very, very prevalent within the southwestern Pennsylvania area. It's actually prevalent everywhere around the world. It's a very common gas, but in western PA it is probably a little bit more so than most because of all the mines and the shale and things of that nature. And we'll talk about that a little bit more in the show as it progresses. Before I begin, however, I want to take a moment and recognize probably the biggest fan of the show, and also happens to be my uncle, Lou Lakis. He passed away last month at the ripe old age of 90. God bless him. I hope I can make it to anywhere near 90 years old. But he would get so excited every time he would see me. Hey, I saw you on TV. I watched the show. He really got a genuine joy out of watching me on TV, watching the program, and he made no bones about telling me that every time he saw me. Again, probably the show's biggest fan, and I love him for it, and he's going to be deeply missed. So I just wanted to take a moment and recognize my Uncle Lou and dedicate this show to him. So Lou Lakis, wherever you're at, I hope you're watching. Now, I want to start off today. Every year, the Remodeling Magazine posts its annual cost versus value report. We've done this, reviewed this report last year and the year before, and I wanted to do it again for 2017 because it's important. And basically what the magazine identifies is if you do any type of remodeling work within your home, what type of work will give you the most bang for your buck? What can you do to improve your home that will give you the greatest percentage return? Especially when you're selling a home. Anytime that you sell a home or even just routine upgrades for your own enjoyment while you're living in the home. You want to make sure that you're going to get the most bang for the buck. You only have a limited number of resources, and you want to make sure that you're utilizing those resources most effectively. So the Remodeling Magazine Annual Cost versus Value Report for 2017 is out, and here's the way it breaks down. And what I have is national numbers and also numbers specific for the Pittsburgh area. And they break it down into two categories: mid-level upgrades and upscale upgrades, upscale homes, mid-level type homes. So for national, the way it breaks down for 2017, and I picked out the top three. There's a whole myriad that are on the list, myriad of items that are on the list. But for time's sake, I just pulled out the top three in each category. So on the national scale, for mid-level remodeling jobs, fiberglass attic insulation was at the top of the list. If you put in fiberglass attic insulation or beef up what is already existing within your home, your percent of cost recuperation is 107.7%. So you will get all your money back out of that investment plus an additional 7.7%. That's basically what that means. Number two on the list is steel entry door replacement. You will recoup 90.7% of your money, of your investment. Third is manufactured stone veneer on the outside of the home. Your recoup rate there is 89.4%. Now, on upscale projects at the national level, garage door replacement was number one. That will recoup 85% of your investment. Number two is fiberglass entry door replacement. I couldn't quite understand what the difference was between the mid-level and the upscale replacement because if you remember, on the national level, in the mid-range upgrades, steel entry door replacement was number two. On the upscale, it's fiberglass entry door replacement. Not exactly sure why that is, but that's the way the numbers fell out. My only thinking, and this is just a guess, a complete guess, is with upscale homes, maybe a steel door is viewed as a safety issue. The neighborhood isn't safe, so I have to put a steel door in. I'm not exactly sure. Again, I'm grasping for straws at that one, but that's the only thing that popped into my head as to why fiberglass would be more prevalent in upscale remodeling jobs as opposed to the mid-level remodeling jobs. Anyway, fiberglass entry door replacement will give you a return of 77.8%. Number three on the national upscale chart is vinyl window replacement. That makes sense, 73.9%. That's on a national level. Specifically to Pittsburgh, how do we fare? Well, in the mid-level range, the number one remodeling item was manufactured stone veneer, again on the outside of the home. That gives you a return in the Pittsburgh area 101.3%. Second on the list, again, no surprise, fiberglass attic insulation, 94% return. And number three is fiberglass entry door replacement, 92.5%. At the upscale level, within the Pittsburgh market, vinyl window replacement came in at number one at 74.1% return of investment. Garage door replacement was number two. That came in at 72.8%. And fiberglass grand entrance. Now, the grand entrance is the entire entranceway, not just replacing the door. So it's the side windows. You take out the entire frame of the entrance and replace that. That's what grand entrance is. It's not just replacing the door. So fiberglass grand entrance replacement will give you a return of 71.9% within the Pittsburgh market. Again, some interesting things. It's good to know this information. If you want to look at the entire list, if you just Google Remodeling Magazine cost versus value report, it'll come up, and then you can download the entire 2017 report. But again, I like to review this every year because it's important. It's something that a lot of people do, obviously, especially when they're selling their home. They spruce it up to make it more attractive for sale. So again, you want to make sure that you're putting your resources to the best possible use and make them as efficient and effective as possible. And this report certainly helps you do that. So again, Remodeling Magazine, just Google that and you'll be able to go on their website and download the entire report. So hopefully that was helpful. I think it is, and that's why we review it. So with that once again brings us to our recurring segment, Who Knew? Through the ages, land ownership was the keystone to one's wealth. Does that formula still hold true today? Stick around, we'll be right back.
Hi Bethel Park, remember me? My name is Jason Planitzer. I was the host of a little show here. You may have seen it. It was called The Jason Planitzer Show.
What would you say your experience with BPTV, how has that had an impact on your life?
I found my voice. I learned how to be funny. I learned how to create things. I learned how to collaborate with people here. I developed an interest in film and comedy and making videos. It stuck with me. It continued through my life. I got into working on motion pictures. I now I'll produce small videos. I'll work with producers on commercials, television projects, feature films. I scout locations on TV shows and movies, which involves me reading scripts, finding the locations that need to be shot, and collaborating with the director and production designer to find the perfect spot. It all started at BPTV for me.
Welcome back. Before the break, I asked the question, through the ages, land ownership was the keystone to one's wealth. Does that formula still hold true today? Well, as it turns out, apparently not. Throughout time, land ownership was the key to wealth, power, and influence. In the days of the early Christian church, one of the main reasons that priests and bishops, clergy were not permitted to marry was so upon their death, any land property that they owned would automatically revert to the church. Land ownership. The colonials, the patriots that started this country with the 13 colonies, who ran the show? The big landowners. Land ownership was wealth. And that makes sense because it was an agricultural society. Whoever owned land controlled everything. They had the power, they had the influence. So land ownership was extremely important. Today, however, with the industrial age, and especially now with the technology revolution, the internet, Silicon Valley, a world global economy, that's not so much the case. And what I cited to kind of demonstrate and illustrate that are two separate reports. There is a report that's done every year by Land Report magazine. They actually track the largest private landowners within the United States. And I also referenced the Forbes 400 Richest Americans report. Each of these reports are annual. They come out every year. And for 2016, here's the way it breaks down. According to Land Report magazine, the number one citizen, private citizen, who owns the most land within the United States is John Malone. He is the CEO of Liberty Media. He owns 2.2 million acres, actually just a bit over that, 2.2 million acres. Now, the Forbes 400 richest people in America list for 2016, of the top 3 people on that list, Bill Gates, number 1, Jeff Bezos, number 2, and Warren Buffett, number 3, only Jeff Bezos is on the top 100 Land Report magazine list. He comes in at number 25. Bill Gates and Warren Buffett, 2 of the top richest people in America, wealthiest people in America, are not in the top 100 of private landowners within the United States. As for John Malone, who is the top landowner in the United States, he is number 61 on the Forbes 400 Richest Americans list. So what does all that mean? What it means is land ownership is no longer a dominant factor in wealth in today's society and today's economy. So for those of us that do not own a ton of land, there's still hope that we can become quite wealthy without being large landowners. I thought that was very interesting. Who knew? Okay, with that, I want to turn over to the main topic of today's program, and that's radon. As I said earlier on, radon is everywhere. Radon is a naturally occurring radioactive gas, and it can cause lung cancer. That's why it's so dangerous. It comes from the natural decay of uranium that is found in nearly all types of soil. Radon is everywhere. Now, radon is pretty much harmless once it dissipates into the air. The problem comes when the gas seeps up through holes and cracks in a home's foundation and becomes trapped within the home, allowing it to build up to unsafe levels. And radon is very, very fickle. Being in the real estate business, I run into this all the time because every time that we sell a home, we have a radon inspection to make sure that the levels are safe for the people buying the property. And literally, you could have two homes next to each other, and I've seen this firsthand. In home A, the radon level will come back in the safe level. In the home right next door to it, the radon level will be above the safe level. It's weird. There's no rhyme or reason to it. I've seen radon levels in Canonsburg that came in at 1.3. I've seen radon levels up in Cranberry Township come close to 100. It's amazing how it can fluctuate. It can fluctuate by season. It can fluctuate by the precipitation level outside. There are a lot of factors that can alter the radon level. So how is it measured? And what are safe levels, what are not safe levels? Well, if you want to get more information and get more detailed about it, you can go to the EPA website, which is where I got my information, and you can read all about it. But just a basic overview, radon is measured in what's called picocuries. Now, what's a picocurie? It's a level of measurement for radon. A curie is the radioactivity in 1 gram of radium. That's called a curie. Again, a curie is a level of measurement. It is the radioactivity in 1 gram of radon. A picocurie equals 1/1,000,000th of a curie. Now, that's a little technical, can be a little bit confusing. Do you really care? No, not really. I just thought it was interesting so you understood what the definitions were. What you need to understand is the safe level for radon in a home is less than 4 picocuries per liter of air. Now, when you hire someone to come in and do a radon test, they're going to come in, they're going to measure the picocuries, and they're going to give you a number. 3, 1.2, 7.8, whatever that number is. All you need to remember is if it's less than 4, you're fine. If it's greater than 4, then you're going to probably want to look into some type of remediation to get that level down. And there are a myriad of companies within the Pittsburgh area that will do radon remediation. And basically what it is, what they do is they drill a hole into the foundation of your home, typically in the garage or the basement. They will put a pipe similar to a drain pipe, a plastic pipe. They will run it outside and they will put a fan in there. And literally the fan just draws out the radon gas to the outside air. That's basically what radon mitigation does. But what that allows it to do is not get trapped within the home and build up to unsafe levels. It's very simple. You can usually have radon mediation done under $1,000, depending on who does it and what's involved. Typically, you can have it done under $1,000. But again, It's something that is everywhere. It is something that can cause lung cancer, so you need to take it seriously. And it's something that is very easy to test for. You can get self-testing radon kits at places like Lowe's and Home Depot. You can test for it and then send it out and get the reading back. You can have a professional do it. But again, it's something that you want to be aware of. And like I said, anytime that we sell a home, there are 3 tests that we always recommend. You have an inspection, a general inspection of things like the furnace, the air conditioner, the roof, the general structure of the house, plumbing, heating, things of that nature. You have a radon inspection to make sure that the levels are within safe limits, less than 4 picocuries. And you also have a pest inspection to make sure that you don't have termites or carpenter bees and you have damage caused by that. There are other inspections you can do, obviously. Typically, those are the 3 most common ones that we typically recommend. So again, if you want to get more information about radon, just go to the EPA website and you can learn more about it than you probably ever want to know. But just understand it's a radioactive gas. It's everywhere, and typically it's harmless once it gets into the air and dissipates. However, within a home, it can get trapped, it can grow to unsafe levels, and it's something that you should be aware of. Whether you're concerned with it or not, that's up to you. But it's something that you should definitely be aware of and know how to test for it and understand what it does. So with that, let's take another break and we will be right back.
Hi, I'm paramedic Jim Corns with Tri-Community South EMS, here to talk to you today about our 2017 annual subscription drive. When you have a medical emergency, you count on your community's emergency medical service to be there for you. To guarantee service is available, Tri-Community South EMS counts on you for financial support through our yearly subscription drive. Without your support, we cannot provide emergency medical care to our residents. Tri-Community South receives no tax revenue from the 3 communities we serve. Your tax dollars do not fund Tri-Community South, and emergency service is not free. You may like to think you're never going to need EMS, and we hope that you never will. If you do, we want to guarantee that we will be there for you, as long as we are still in service to respond. Without your support, you won't have that assurance. You might think, it can't happen here. Yes, it can. And you don't have to look very far to find multiple communities that have lost their EMS service due to lack of financial support. Tri-Community South subscription drive is going on now, and every year less residents have shown support through our subscription drive or donation. If you haven't subscribed, we hope that you will consider it. Please help keep your EMS service by your subscription of $60 per year. Remember, EMS is not free, and most insurance companies do not reimburse 100%. Currently, out of approximately 27,000 households in the 3 communities, only 18% have shown their support by subscribing. Every household will receive a subscription in the mail by the end of January. You can also subscribe online at www.tcsems.org. Please, show your support through a subscription. Thank you in advance, and stay safe.
Welcome back. I want to tap into the mailbag since we have some time in this episode. And if you remember from our last program, we talked about the rental market. The rental market is growing. That's forecasted to continue to grow, probably not as robust as it has in the past, but there's still a lot of bargains out there, and investors are looking to scoop up a lot of real estate, especially at the lower end price points. That's where they get bigger margins. The upscale rental market, those properties are starting to slow down a little bit just because prices are getting a little bit higher and margins are getting a little bit tighter. But anyway, we spoke in great deal about the rental market. And the question in the mailbag that I pulled out relates directly to our program last time. Dennis from Bridgeville asks, I'm in the process of purchasing a small apartment building. Is there a formula for setting rental rates? Well, Dennis, the primary factor is supply and demand, which may seem like common sense, and it is common sense, but that really is the primary factor to setting rental rates. Vacancy rate is probably your best single indicator of how much you can increase the rent. If you have a lot of vacancies within your apartment building and you're having a hard time getting it rented out, then obviously you're not going to be able to raise the rents as much as you would like. However, if people are lined up to get into your place, then of course you can bump up the rents and take advantage of that situation. Market situation, supply and demand. However, as a rule of thumb, there are three considerations that are typically involved in setting rates. One is you need rent that's obviously sufficient to cover your property's fixed charges and operating expenses. You don't want to be renting at a loss. You have to be able to cover your bills. The rent needs to provide fair return on investment. Again, if you can throw your money into a CD and get a higher return than buying an apartment building and getting a return off of that, then why wouldn't you throw it into a CD? Maybe a poor analogy, but you get my point. And the rent should be in line with the market, comparable to similar units in other buildings. Again, you need to work within your universe. So those are the three considerations, rule of thumb, that you should probably take into account. Rent sufficient to cover your fixed expenses and operating charges, enough to provide a fair return on your investment, and it should be in line with the market. If similar properties are renting for $300 a month and you're at $500 a month, why on earth would anybody come and stay in your building when you're not offering them anything additional that they can't find anywhere else, but you're charging them an extra $200 a month? Again, common sense, yeah, but hopefully that's helpful to you. But again, it really boils down to market conditions, supply and demand. You get as much as you possibly can, and it just works out to whatever the market will yield is what you can get for your rent. So I hope that helps. With that comes to the conclusion of our program. Again, I want to recognize the biggest fan of this show, Lou Lakis, who was also my uncle. He passed recently at the age of 90. He will definitely be missed. And again, a good man and a big fan, probably the biggest fan of this program. So, Uncle Lou, this is to you, and that's a wrap. Thank you for watching.